Hey guys, this is part 1 of our tutorial video. If you have any questions, just let us know.
Alright, so step 1, we're going to take that ice, food grade ice preferably. That's why I get mine from a very famous fast food place. We're going to cool down our machine before we put the material in there. You can see I had the ice water, I switched it around. Platinum kosher cookies going into the wash. Alright, so we're going to get all of that material into the wash, get it submerged into that cold water, and let it kind of come to life and become pliable again so we can knock those resin heads right off. When harvesting fresh frozen material, you want to shoot for about a golf ball size. This is going to be the size that works best in the wash. And then we're going to add a little bit more ice just to keep that material submerged. I have a 5-gallon portable washer, and here's the final gallon of water going into the wash. Then we will cover our unit, let everything get nice and cold. Any plastic that's not to temp is going to get resin stuck to it. Okay, so this first spin cycle is really just 3 spins. One this way, one reverse, and one the other way. And this is going to knock the ripest resin heads off of that plant material. Place your catch bags and get ready for the water to run through your series of screen bags. You may have to get inventive at this point in the process. As you can see, I have 2 chafing dish pan holders upside down supporting my catch bags. Work with what you got, people. And then we want to immediately get cold water back in that unit. Those live resin heads are super sensitive. We do not want them to stick to that plastic. You really want your room temperature to be super cold. You can see I've got a hat, hoodie, all that. 50 degrees is where things start to really get dicey. All right, filled up with water. We're going to add a little bit more ice. And this second spin is going to be a little bit longer than the first cycle. So second cycle will go for about 3 minutes. That'll give us time to collect our first bags. Basic 2-gallon Shapen pump sprayer, and we're just going to knock all of those resin heads into their proper spot in the sieve and try and knock out any contaminants, foam, etc. that we might see. If you haven't previously watched Frenchy Cannoli's videos, you should really check those out. That's where I got started in this whole process, and it's a super great resource. So now we're gonna put our collections onto our freeze-dried trays. It's best to keep them very cold. I always pre-freeze them in the deep freezer before we get started. So again, this first cycle is really just taking the ripest resin heads off of the plant. And we're ready for our second collection. Looks like a good amount of anthocyanin coming in from that plant material. Everything goes purple here in Colorado. If it has purple in the genetic, it will go purple with those cold nights. Anthocyanin is what makes blueberries blue. It's what makes purple plants purple. And it's what's making our water that beautiful shade of pink purple. All right, so our bags are rinsed out. We're ready to do that second collection. Here's our first catch bag. It's a 220 micron bag. It's really just going to catch plant material that we're trying to not get into our hash. So my second size is a 160 micron bag. Sometimes I catch interesting things in there if resin heads are super big. Most times I just catch a bunch of 90 that didn't quite make its way down to its final bag. It looks like in this 160 bag, I'm finding something interesting. Onto our 90, we'll give it a little shake. And this is where I catch the majority of my resin. Anything from 90 micron all the way up to 159 micron. Got to get the sides of it really good. Get all of the resin that's hiding in those creases down into the center. So that way we can catch it with our collecting spoon. I even keep my spoon and all my utensils in a mason jar with ice and water, so that way they stay nice and cold throughout the whole process. And it looks like it's going to be a really nice collection from our second wash. About 5 minutes on that second cycle, and then we'll spin this 2 more times. Third wash generally ends up about 10 minutes. Fourth wash ends up about 15. Any more than that is just kind of not worth it. You'll find the line where your patience gives up on the return, and you'll swap that material out for fresh material going into the next round.
So this is the end of our part 1 video. The next video will be getting the material into the freeze dryer, determining when it is fully dry, and then how to press it out in the rosin press. If you have any questions, just let us know in the comments.